The first story is as follows. One evening, I received a call from a passenger demanding compensation because the flight arrived later than scheduled. The cause of a delay like this is what determines if compensation is offered, what form of compensation will be issued in, and how much. While searching through the reservation to determine the answers of these questions, I discovered that the reason the flight was delayed is because the captain, pilot of the flight had a heart attack mid-flight and died. This pilot had a wife and I believe 3 children waiting for him at home. So it was heartbreaking that he died so young. Because of the tragedy, the flight was diverted to another city to allow officials to remove his body from the plane. So this passenger called demanding compensation for the inconvenience of his flight. He kept yelling that he had been late to or completely missed his business meeting. Even after I explained the reason for the delay, he still felt that he should get some kind of refund or voucher solely because of the inconvenience. He was saying that we could have just continued to his destination and then take the pilot's body off the plane. He continued to say a lot of ignorant and cold-hearted things, always insisting that we inconvenienced him and he is entitled to compensation. I eventually lost my patience with this and told him, "Sir, I'm sorry that you are inconvenienced, but this man was only 40 years old with a wife and kids. They feel having to unexpectedly plan and pay for his memorial service to be quite inconvenient as well. There was nothing we could have done to prevent this." He continued to try to argue and wanted to speak to cooperate. He wouldn't hang up without a coupon or a voucher. He also threatened that he would post on social media about the horrible customer service and the flight delay. I basically told him, "Good luck with that," and ended the call. The next story is as follows. So this happened a while ago in a small town in the middle of nowhere. It's a community-built network of mountain bike trails. The community helps maintain and build more trails to ride on for everybody to enjoy. The trail started in my cousin's backyard and before, he was the only one involved so the trails were very small. But soon, he got many of his neighbors involved to help maintain and build more trails, and it became a decent-sized network of trails. Since it is his private property, he requests people ask before they go on his trails, and he lets most people in. One day, we were wanting to ride on a downhill trail with many cool features, things like jumps, logs to hop over, homemade skinny bridge out of wood planks, drops, and much more. This particular day, there was a sign planted into the ground on the entrance of the trail, saying, "Reserved for Karen and her family." At first, we thought this was very entitled and rude, just barging into his property and blocking it off from the owners, but we saw the family with shovels and wheelbarrows and realized that they were helping us maintain the trail. Fair enough, it could use some maintenance, so it was kind of them to be helping us without being asked. Little did we know this was the complete opposite. So we spent the next few hours riding the other trails and finally decided that we should give them some beers for helping us out. So we returned to my cousin's house and he grabbed some from the fridge and head back up and go past her sign. We start to go down, but Karen runs up to us and starts yelling, "Hey, why are you going past sign? It's clearly reserved for me and my family." "Oh, we just wanted to give you some beers for helping us maintain the trail. I actually it is reserved for me. Get out." I own this. You're on my private property." "No, this is public. My kid and friends all come here all the time." Now, this could be true. My cousin has allowed many school children to ride on his trails after school. But this is my private property. I do let many people ride my trails as long as they help out sometimes, and I certainly do not remember inviting you. Please leave. Well, I did help you with your trails. Look, I child-proofed them. She points to the trail and we suddenly realize what her and the family had done. They had flattened out jumps, removed logs, removed the skinny bridge along with everything else that makes a mountain bike trail fun. It became nothing but a slight downhill path. Not to mention how she cut down several trees. Her kid was also there, riding down the lame hill with a regular Walmart bike. An entire summer's worth of work was turned into an idiot-friendly bike hill with nothing special. Excuse me, what the hell have you done to my trail? Don't be yelling at me. You're the one who built a hazardous merry-go-round. Yeah, that's the whole point of mountain biking, to do fun things like this, but with you, without permission, went on my property and broke things. What is wrong with you? I am making it safe for kids. Okay, well, I'm gonna call the cops. At this point, she realized how dumb she was and decided to back off, never to be seen again. A part of me wanted this to escalate for a better story to tell, but we never ended up calling the cops. It ended up taking several days to get it back to its original form, but it will never be as fun. The next story is titled Airplane Emergency Exit Row Seats. This was a few years ago. I was on a Southwest flight. If you're not familiar with Southwest Airlines, they don't have reserved seats. When a passenger checks in, they're assigned a boarding number. The lower the number is, the earlier they board. On this flight, I paid for Business Select and had boarding A1, so I was first in line to board the plane. However, before able-bodied passengers, Southwest pre-boards passengers that need help, typically people with mobility problems. Pre-boarders are not allowed to sit in the emergency exit rows. On this flight, there was one pre-boarder, a young woman with no obvious problems. They started the boarding process. The gate agent scanned her boarding pass, and I went about 10 seconds after her when it was clear there were no other pre-boarders. When she got to the plane, she went straight to the emergency exit row, right where I was planning on sitting. I was annoyed, so I said, "You're a pre-boarder, you can't sit in the emergency exit row." She glared at me and I didn't know what she was going to do. Fortunately, there was a flight attendant nearby who heard me and he immediately came over and told her she had to move to another row. She grabbed her backpack and moved forward 3 or 4 rows, and I got the seat I wanted. The flight was on a 737-700. On the Southwest 737-700, there is one emergency exit row and the two sides are not symmetrical. On one side, there are only 2 seats but no extra legroom. On the other side, there are 3 seats but lots of extra legroom. Depending on what you are looking for, there's only going to be one seat that meets your criteria. We were halfway down the length of the plane. We were the only people back there at the time. The passengers that boarded after me were getting seats at the front of the plane. The only people that heard me were her and the flight attendant. She didn't get embarrassed in front of other passengers. For those calling me selfish, Karen, entitled, etc., I paid extra to get on first and get the seat I wanted. She brought a doctor's note to get on first and went straight to a seat she wasn't allowed to sit in. She would have been told she couldn't sit in the emergency exit row when she got her boarding pass. The next story is as follows. This story happened in December, just after the colleagues let out for the winter. I'm a teacher and my girlfriend is a grad student, so when she was done for the semester, I took a few days off from work and joined her for a vacation down to Virginia, where her parents live. It was the first time I was going to meet the whole family, and this was looking like a pretty serious relationship that might go all the way. We flew there from Newark on the United Express service. which is essentially a tiny tin can of an airplane where tall people can barely stand up. The seats are arranged 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Going there, we booked a 2-seater together and the flight went off without a hitch. The trip was great. Her family and I got along. Unfortunately, I had to fly back alone. She planned to stay a few weeks with her parents before school starts again. I don't like flying, and I especially don't like flying solo. I'm not the great sleeper at the best of times, so sleeping on a plane is out. I booked myself a single seat on the left for privacy, bought a decent amount of reading material, and assumed I would just be able to keep myself distracted for the 90-minute flight, or so I thought. So I've settled into my solo seat near the front of the standard seating, and the old man behind me has popped a few pills and immediately fell asleep. I'm distracting myself with magazines when I hear a bellow of, "It'll fit just fine." Karen storms into the plane, pulling her kid with one hand and an oversized wheeled suitcase with another. She proceeds to huff and puff while shoving it into the overhead compartment, despite all of us being told that baggage space is limited and we should check all hard suitcases. She eventually crams it in, sits down with him, and the flight takes off. As soon as we get going, I turn on my overhead light and get back to reading. About 5 minutes later, I'm snapped out of my distraction. "Sir? Sir?" "Yes? You need to turn your overhead light off. My daughter and I are trying to sleep." "Sorry, but I want to be able to read during this flight. It's only 6:30. "Excuse me? I'll tell you my daughter and I have been traveling all weekend. We're both exhausted, and the least you can do is be a little accommodating. You're the only person on this flight with the light on." "Well, I'm sorry about that, but I can't really sleep on flights. I need this light." "Okay, that's enough of that." She gets up out of her seat and quickly turns my light off, then sits back down with a smug smirk. "Do not touch my light again." "Oh, really? We'll see what the attendant has to say about this." With another of her trademark smirks, she hits the flight attendant call button about 5 times in a row. My butthole immediately clenches. I'm already nervous on flights, and any interaction with authority figures makes it worse. But this is so absurd, I decide to see where it goes. I get back to reading as we wait for the flight attendant to get there. She shows up, a young woman who looks like she'd had a long day. It's about to get longer. "Can I help you, ma'am?" "Yes, you can. This rude man won't turn off his overhead light, even after I told him how tired my daughter and I are. We have to fly to Cleveland tonight after this flight, and I think we deserve a little peace." "Well, ma'am, everyone can use their light as they want. There's nothing stopping him from using his overhead lighting, but let me see what I can do. Sir, would you mind turning out the light so she can get some rest?" "Sorry, like I told, I bought a solo seat so I could read." "Can't you just tell him to turn it off? I'm pretty sure he has to do what you say." "Ma'am, we have blindfolds that you can use for you and your daughter to block out the light if you want." "No, those are probably filthy." "No, they're individually wrapped and..." "Listen, why are you making this so hard? Just make him turn it off. You're the flight attendant and you have the authority over these people." "Sir, would you be willing to move seats so she's not bothered? We have some empty seats here." "I'm catching a train after I get off and are kind of in a rush, especially as some people are likely going to be taking a while to get their luggage out." "How dare you? You look like you belong in the back of the plane. Just get back there and stop bothering us." Now, I was kind of casually dressed and had a 4-day beard and hair was scruffy. Oh yeah, and my skin is tan. I am not white. We all know what she really meant. Nice racism. You know what I meant, you punk. Are you going to do something about this or not? You're depriving her of much needed sleep. Now you go talk to someone with the authority to do something about this and get this punk out of my sight, or I'll have your job. Sir, it's not a long flight. Would you please? I'm sorry, but I don't have a problem here. She does, and she's making this entire flight miserable. I don't think I should have to inconvenience myself to make her happy. Looking defeated, Efe runs up to the front of the plane to talk to what I assume are the people in charge. You're in for it now. You'll be on the no-fly list after this. Flight attendant returns and immediately turns to me. Karen's eyes go wide with excitement. Sir, would you be willing to move up 4 rows? You'll be closer to the front that way, and it's another single seat. Yes, I think that's fine. Wait, he gets a better seat? Why didn't you offer that to us? There's only single seats available up there, ma'am. This is ridiculous. He ruined our flight and gets rewarded. When we get to New York, I'll be informing your boss and the authorities so you both get exactly what you... Old woman next row over loudly says and startles the entire flight. For God's sake, lady, shut up. She shuts up after that, and I move to my new seat. I wish I could tell you this was some luxurious first-class digs, but this is a crappy short-haul flight in a tin can. I had maybe 2 more inches of legroom, and I got my half cup of soda and my tiny bag of pretzels a few minutes early. But I was far away from Karen. When the flight landed, I quickly grabbed my bag and got off, sneaking a look back as she held up the entire line, trying to wedge her suitcase free from the tiny overhead compartment. We were about 20 minutes early to New York, so I got a bagel before catching my train. I get to see Karen barreling past, dragging the suitcase and her kid behind her, yelling that this airport is full of idiots. She catches sight of me at the bagel place. You are a horrible person. I chuckled and gave her a little wave. It ended without any police, property damage, or assault, but it certainly did nothing to make me appreciate flying more. The next story is titled, My Sister Called Me Demanding I Take My Post Down. Now she's more upset than ever to know how far it's spread. Having a family that knows about your Reddit account has its disadvantages. Yesterday, my sister called me after I got off work to ask me if comments are still coming in. She said she cannot bear the negativity of looking at them herself because the comments are all so hurtful towards her. So I was brutally honest. At least 10 comments are still coming in daily, and most of them more or less say the same things about her. She started crying and demanding I delete my Reddit posts, but I refused and told her she can cry to anyone she wants. But the posts stay up because they're my assurance she won't try to treat me like crap anymore. After all, she literally felt like my life should revolve around hers, didn't pay me the babysitting money she was supposed to, and pocketed it for herself, and forced me to be the constant babysitter on last year's family vacation, so I had pretty much no fun the entire time. Is it really any wonder people are having so much hate for her when she treated me like that? Then when I mentioned the posts have already spread to other websites because I was asked a couple of times to let an article be made about my situation. And there are some videos that were read as well. My sister shrieked hearing that and hung up. My parents then called me begging I take the post down. I've refused and stated that I only did this because they didn't stick up for me. This would have never happened if they told my sister to treat me like an equal and not a servant. I'm not her butler, babysitter, or handyman. I'm her freaking brother. And a grown-ass man. Wouldn't they be tired of this crap in my shoes too? They agreed, but still begged I take the post down. I refused and said that I'll keep making more if they don't start sticking up for me more when my sister comes crying to them. Let her clean up her own messes. Because all the enabling of her led to this. I didn't father those kids. I've got a life of my own, a career I'm still new to, and hopefully soon enough a girlfriend as there's someone I want to ask out. I'm moving my life forward, and I won't be held back. They can either step out of my way or keep trying to enable my sister. But I assured them that the latter would end badly for them. The only way this posting on Reddit will stop is if the drama stops. I've kept things anonymous and I've got a right to vent my very valid frustrations. Well, that left my mother crying. My father just went silent, and I said tears don't move me. They know what it will take to end this, and that's to stop enabling my sister. Well, my sister called me again to yell at me that our parents have told her they aren't dealing with this anymore, and to figure it out herself. Oh, and they told her to be nicer to me too. I just pictured her eye twitching as she internally screamed after hearing that. Be nice to my kid brother? What is this? Do I look it up on Google? Yeah, I was that sarcastic to her, but it left her crying too when I hung up. My brother-in-law called me later to get my side of the story. He was mad I'm still posting and made his wife cry, but I explained everything to him, and he said he'll have another talk with my sister. I'm hoping this drama finally ends here, but the family vacation is still on for late June. I've already booked my room and put in for a day off work so we can all leave on Friday. My room is also not near the ones my parents, sister, Bill and nephews will be using. In fact, it's not even on the same floor. And when we go to the coast, when it's not a family activity, I'm going to go where I want and do what I want. And you can bet I'm gonna tour those art galleries, pick out on local food, and just enjoy being carefree for a change.